Live from 864 Sound in Greenville, South Carolina, it's the Wash Bros Podcast with your hosts, Matt Jackson and Clay Smith.
What's up, guys? It's Matt Jackson and Clay Smith, and we are the Wash Bros. Thanks for joining us. This is going to be our 5th episode, and we're trying to figure out what to talk about, and I think it'll pull into a growth phase of me right now, and it is leaning into leadership and kind of getting off the truck. And then, I was where Clay was a year or so ago, or shoot, I was where you were last year.
Yeah, right.
And then I kind of hit a growth point where I had to make a decision, and now it's about figuring out how to put people in place to grow past the limits that I was at last year. So
yeah, I think that
you can kick it off.
Yeah. So I think what the cool thing about this is, as far as our relationship goes, like we could see, I can see, like what I need to look forward to and the things that I need to do to get to the point, you know, as far as the next level goes. So like you said, you were where I was at last year. So next year, maybe I hope, or within the year or the next year, I hope to be, you know, start to get to where you're at as far as leaders. I mean, and how would you say, like, when did you know that it was time to go ahead and make that move to get to the next step, I would say, as far as putting the right people into place to make that first step as far as to growing?
I'd say, like you, I was very like control oriented, and I liked the brand that I had built, and was very much based around me doing the work, like the driveway guys. Like you can't ever find somebody as good as that, right?
Yeah, you're right. You worry about having multiple people, and you're the driveway guy, not the driveway guys. Matt, the driveway
I gotta change my pronouns now.
Yeah.
So, but I'd say last year I ended up getting an injury in the middle of April, and I had to take all of April off because I had surgery, and that really hurt because April is one of the busier months we have.
I remember, yeah.
And then I get back on the horse, and I just kind of grind sun up to sundown, and then I had a helper, and that helped offload some physical labor, but I still had to be there for time. And I just was looking at you. You motivate me a lot because I see, hey, this guy's like right on my heels, and I don't want to compete with you,
right?
And I don't want to be like, hey, year over year, I'm not growing that much, and then you're making leaps and bounds growth. So I said, all right, how can I get back into that energy of growing leaps and bounds? And I think last year, like my first year I did it, I put up a big number, and then I think I had like a 20% growth on top of that. So it wasn't as good from the motivation standpoint of like, oh, I crushed my goals this year. And going into this year, I was like, man, I have 2 options. I can stay on one truck by myself and kind of work my eyeballs out, and then maybe make a little bit more money. But at the same time, I've created a prison for myself where I have to constantly work. But again, that's taken like 2 years of full time. Let's see, I started halfway into 2020. So yeah, I mean, that's taken me over $500,000 of revenue to make that decision. And it's just like, I can make all the money doing it myself and holding on to it, but the drivers for me are no longer like chasing the money, and more about chasing time and freedom, and then seeing how much opportunity I can have. So this year I got 2 trucks on the road, and I got a really good guy that's going to help me full time. And then I got another guy that I'm going to bring back on as I build another truck. And then I have a buddy who pretty much going to come on like almost as a business partner, and we're going to run stuff together.
Like an ops manager?
Essentially, yeah. Like he's got the experience and expertise where I don't. So I'm very much more innovator, like go out, drive, like creative. I like that, but I'm not the greatest at the SOPs, at the small stuff, at the like attention to detail with like building teams and stuff like that. So kind of, I hit a point where I said I can do this alone. But the next move for me was figure out how can I lock arms with guys and really grow the business. So far this spring, I got 2 trucks on the road, and I'm like, man, I think the sign for me was when I sent my guy out all day, and I got tips and I got 5-star reviews.
There you go.
And then I'm like, man, this is what I was doing. Like everybody has the fear of, oh, my business is now going to go in the ground. Like like I did so much work to build this up, and then like nobody else can do it just like me. And then like people are going to know and they're not going to choose me anymore. But in fact, it just, I was able to duplicate myself. So as I build that second truck, I'm able to do pretty much, instead of having to force like a really difficult goal for the day to hit a number I want, I can spread it out between 2 trucks, and then both of us aren't killing each other. And when stuff happens, it's like water pressure can be an issue with what we do. So you're waiting on a house for an extra hour, and then the sun goes down, and then you missed out on an opportunity. So it's buying myself more margin with people. So that's where I am now.
Yeah, I think my biggest fear would be like trying to find somebody that thinks the way I think, that works the way I work, that's motivated the way I'm motivated, and at the end goal is trying to do, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's my biggest fear, going back to the control thing. Like you're really worried that, I know I am, you know, worried about trying to find the perfect person, but then you got to realize that
if they're the perfect person, they're not going to be able to, usually like if they're the same person as you, you're not going to be able to train them. And you want somebody that I've noticed is like successful, somebody that is dependable, is going to show up on time, and somebody that isn't a know-it-all. And usually most of the times these people aren't pressure washers. You don't want somebody to come in and say, "Oh, I know how to do this."
Yeah, you don't want
to compete.
You don't want a guy that's had experience in working for another pressure washer, because they're stuck in their own ways.
And they're going to be like, change. "Oh, I know how to do it. This guy's just stupid." I'm like, "Well, then why didn't you do it yourself?"
Or if they're really good at interviewing, like you've said in the past, they're really good at interviewing, then it's probably not the employee for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, but got lucky. And honestly, a lot of these, the guy I have now is awesome. He pretty much was a customer I had, his son, and she's like, "Hey, he's trying to find like his way." So it was a good personality match, and super good worker. And I'm like, awesome. Just like, I think we did like 4 days together in a truck, and then I just handed off the keys, and he's rocking and rolling.
That's awesome, man.
So
I think it took me longer than 4 days to figure out how to do my job.
Yeah.
As far as washing and stuff.
Yeah.
But there's a lot that goes on other than just washing. But if I had to just worry about washing, shoot, I believe I'd be okay.
Yeah, and it's one of those things too. You have to understand the different types of roles for people.
Right.
And it's like, hey, some guy may be an hourly guy, some guy may be a percent guy, and that's where I'm working now. If somebody's gonna have ownership, I want somebody to have an ownership mindset with the business, and then I give them a percent. So say like 20% off the top.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey, I can stack this day up, and if you want to work your tail off, you can make extra money. But if you want it to be a flexible schedule, you don't have to kill yourself, but you're also you have potential to make more. I'm not stifling you.
Yeah. I mean, just doing basic numbers, 20% of $1,000 is $200. If you want to double that, you can make $400 a day.
Yeah. I mean, I'm shooting for like $1,700 a truck. So that's good money for somebody who's not having to carry anything. And it's a pretty easy job. It's just show up, make sure that you have attention to detail, and be courteous with customers.
Yeah. And I mean, if you can find someone that's really motivated and driven like you, they can pretty much work on the things that you're not able to work on too, you know, to drum up more business, maybe shake some hands, pass out some cards, you know, whenever there's a window of, you know, even on the weekend, shoot.
Yeah. And that's a cool thing too. Is like, this guy worked in a restaurant, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I can go back. Like the contacts I have there, they need to get that cleaned." I'm like, boom.
It's kind of like
incentivize them. It's like sales again. It's like, hey, you come from sales, you understand the game. It's like, hey, if I can help you get business, I get a percentage of that.
Yeah, it's like when I managed the car lot, we would hire people, and we knew that they were at least going to bring in a family member or a friend, something of that nature. Kind of goes back to that thing. Usually, when you start a new job, you want to bring people in and introduce them to, you know, the new things that you're doing.
Exactly. And I always try to. I know talk about like mission statements. So like business is more than just like the business side of things, and you want to have not only just a brand but kind of values behind it. And I try to share that and find people who have equal values. That way we're not, oh, like you're the boss and you're yelling at me because I'm not doing the work. It's like, yes, we're not even per se, but we want to be treated as equals. And it's like, okay, there's a respect level there because like my face is on the truck and this is my business, but it doesn't mean you're any less. It's like, I want to see you grow, and then I want to allow you to make more money. And then not just that, I want to pour into you and teach you what I know That way I've done my business. This is kind of like you were saying the other day, is like, you're just going to start training your competition. I was like, that's kind of what we all do, right?
Yeah, makes sense.
But then you get somebody who works really hard for you and helps you grow your business and is going to be loyal to you.
I mean, it's like I tell the guys all the time that work with me that help me out, and I tell them, I wouldn't do anything. I wouldn't tell you to do something that I wouldn't do myself,
Yes.
that I wasn't afraid to do or that I wouldn't be afraid to hop in and help you with.
Yes. Yeah.
We have a big fleet of trucks that we do, and that's what I tell all the guys, but I don't know if it's I'm not paying them enough or I'm working them too hard, but they don't ever seem to come back.
Right. Getting a taste of that C3 Wash Pro in there, and they're like,
yeah, I get to see how hard, a lot of people are like, daggone big money, and they don't really see the hard work that goes in,
Oh, yeah.
But as far as would you say that when you started to grow and you were looking to hire people and you had people you brought in to work with you, would you say that you wanted to hop in at times and just take over, and as you were watching them clean stuff and wash houses and rinse houses or whatever, did you see sometimes that they were doing that you just wanted to, the controlness in you just wanted to take over and say, you're not doing, what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that would be like the hardest part for me as as a controller, like you want to be the one doing it, like, man, come on.
Absolutely. I think having a helper last year was like slowly getting myself into that.
You gotta slow down to
it's like
fast.
and it's just like, all right, well, I'm teaching the muscle of delegation, of teaching the muscle of I'm surrendering my control in this situation, because if I don't, I'm going to forever be capped. And then I was getting to the point where you get close to burnout because you're doing everything yourself. And then not only you're physically exhausted, but mentally you're exhausted too.
Yeah, you're not there.
And you're not there.
That's when businesses fall apart.
Yeah, it's we're being selfish and not trusting other people and thinking with our egos, as opposed to, hey, I'm good right here. I'm thinking with my rational mind, like this is my business plan. And last year I had a helper, and even the year before I had a helper too. And it helped me. Like I would send them. I didn't necessarily send them out, but I'd still let them do the job, and then I wouldn't even really look it over, and I'd be like, all right, on to the next one. Yeah. Like doing the business side of things in my truck, and I'd get 5-star reviews and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, I can trust. And then that kind of prepared me to surrender for this year, where I can be in multiple places at the same time. And it's like when I would normally just schedule a day knowing that I could be involved too. Like I was showing Clay before we shot this episode, I have like 5 or 6 jobs booked for tomorrow, and I'm spreading it. So I'm not gonna see half the jobs. So like
splitting it between 2 trucks.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm able to, but it's requiring me to trust more. And then also know, hey, there will be times where, since I was not there, I have to go back and touch something up. Like I have I was in the cliffs the other day, and I'm going to have to go back and touch something up that wasn't hit. But that allowed me to do like stupid numbers in one day because we had 3 guys there helping. And I'm like, hey, I'm setting up a truck where I can kind of go out and touch something up in case I need to, versus me holding on to all the control. And then I'm going to forever be capped.
Right. Well, the good thing about all this, I'm listening, is that you get to work out all the kinks, and it's going to be a steady breeze for me.
Yeah, exactly.
So I got my notebook out in my head, just jotting it down. Okay, things not to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But maybe, like, would you say, like, for your employees in the future, like, would you say that maybe a checklist or something, maybe to go over visually for your employees to help them out?
Yeah.
The qualities. Hey, did you do this? Did you do that?
Yeah, and that's an important thing too that I'm starting to implement. It's like SOPs, like standard operating procedures. You want to have something that is a official training, or you want to have resources, not just, oh, I told you to do this. Why didn't you do this?
Yeah, educate your employees.
Yes, exactly right.
Train your employees.
Because they're going to be a representation of you. And if you can't train them properly, it goes directly back to you.
Correct.
And that's like thinking as a leader as opposed to a boss, where you don't throw them under the bus. You just say, hey, if something happened, that was on me because I didn't train them. And then you assess the systems there. So yeah, I was so OCD with building out like the systems when I was in the owner operator stage. And now it's getting used to, okay, I'm no longer going to be driving to a job, pushing the button to say I'm on the way, pushing the button to say job started, pushing the button to say it's over, collecting the money. At the end of the day, I'm like, okay, I didn't communicate with these customers. How can I best how can I put systems in place so I can make it easy for my employees to do that as well? And then collecting money at the same time too. Like usually if the customer's there, we can sort the money on that too. I don't want to have past dues start to build up because it's like, hey, I got 6 jobs a day going on and money can add up quickly.
That's true. You don't want to be chasing money.
Exactly.
But one of the things I always like to put in perspective is, kind of the things that you like, you enjoy doing. Like I like to put in perspective of sports. If you're a good coach and you train your players properly, they're going to respect you more, right? So you can kind of put that in business. Like if you train, you educate your team as a coach, then you're going to be more successful.
Yeah.
That's always something, whenever I was over people and I had a team, I would always put it into perspective as a sport. And sometimes you have to dumb it down for people too, to make it more, could we put this more, I wouldn't say like entertaining, but more, you get where I'm going with it.
I think too, when we try to connect with somebody, and this is kind of back from our sales, you don't connect with them on your level. You have to connect with them on their level. So there's a disconnect. If somebody's not getting it, or if we're talking to an employee as we talk to somebody like you and me, where we understand, like we need to bridge that gap and connect with them at whatever level they are. So it's like empathy and having.
Yeah, you got to put it in different perspectives.
Yeah,
that's what I was looking for a minute ago. You got to put it in different perspective because everybody doesn't think or see the things the way that we see it.
Figure out what they know and then relate it to that.
Yeah,
it's like like you said, if they played football, relate it to football, and then they're like, oh, I understand the analogy now.
Yeah, sports is a big thing for me. I feel like a lot of your people enter, or it could be gaming, reading books. Somehow you can do it. You could always find that what do you call it? The middle ground.
Yeah.
The
connection point.
I can't find words in this episode.
Yeah, it's all good.
Find the connection point. Find a way to relate to the person to be able to explain it a lot better, because obviously we're not all the same people. We all think differently. We learn differently. We see things differently. That's just the world we live in. Yeah.
And I think too, the area I'm leaning into is like, okay, the pressure washing part is the easy part to train. It then becomes figuring out, the caliber of employees to have and saying, hey, like, am I vetting these people correctly, or am I choosing them because they can pressure wash?
Yeah. Are you treating them like a number?
Yeah.
Or are you wanting to grow with them and grow within the company and hopefully be able to, be something? I think that's what a lot of companies, I know that like in the car business where I came from, it was just like, let's just have a warm body. I think that now looking back, thinking that way, like you're not going to get anywhere just hiring a warm body, just having somebody to show up. You want them to be successful with you.
Yeah. And with small business, it's vital because you don't have the overhead to be able to carry like non-productive employees.
Well, I also feel like
and reputation too.
Yeah, but you also got to be careful on who you hire, because that one person can make one wrong move. They could be driving one of your trucks and something could happen on the road. You just never know. One stupid decision could be very costly.
Yeah, that would hurt to have a truck get taken out of commission.
That too. Yeah. I mean, and that's another person that you're trusting with your brand, your company, your equipment to take care of your customer.
Yeah.
So you got to make sure you take care of them. You put the right things in place, the standards in place, what your mission as a company is, what you're trying to accomplish. And I think that training them properly, educating them, and motivating them to want to work harder, whether it be commission based or, mentally, or trying to get them to grow within the company. I think that plays a big part. And you don't want to treat your employees like a number. I think that's the biggest mistake that I see.
And to what I've started trying to do too is like incentivizing them for getting Google reviews, because Google reviews is a big thing that we both do. So it's like, hey, if you get a Google review, I'll give you $50. Yes. That's going to allow them to focus a little more on that job to try to deliver the perfect result, but also be friendly to the customer.
Yeah. I mean, we would, as a salesman, I would get paid $500-$600 a week for getting 5-star reviews. I mean, that's a huge thing all across the board in any business, is the review thing. I mean, I was reading something the other day. I told you it was very interesting. Even the reviews, and we could probably talk about this another day, but even the reviews, the words that your customers say in your reviews affect your SEO.
Yep.
Like that will. I didn't even know that, and I've been doing this almost going on 2 years.
So yeah, you can train your customers to give you Google reviews, which I'm not advising because that's against Google's policy terms. But it's like, hey, thank you for pressure washing our house and soft washing our vinyl siding and cleaning our concrete driveway. That carries weight for those keywords.
And a lot of people.
And then you reply to that as well with the same keywords, and it's double action on the SEO end.
The really crazy part about this, Matt, is half the people listening to this don't even know what we're talking about right now.
It's true. Yeah. They just wonder why you rank higher than they do on Google.
Yeah, but like, anyway, you know what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
That's for possibly a course later on.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Maybe something we can explain then. But
yeah.
I don't know. That SEO stuff is very, I can't figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, you're investing in your brand and your reputation, and it's extremely important to do that on the online space too. And that's Google is like, I'm at that point now where it's easy for me to get more business to fill the trucks that I've added on because of my Google rankings, and then I can just put more money into Google Ads. So,
yeah, spend a lot. You know, you can invest a lot into Google, but like we were talking about earlier, I think you want to give a little bit of a piece of pie to everything. You can't just solely rely on one platform for business.
That's true. You never know what type of customer is looking at, whether it's Google or Facebook. I mean, you've gotten a lot of good stuff out of Facebook.
Yeah, I've been very successful with Facebook, but we all have different things we're good at. I think that's what sets all of us apart, being unique, me and you differently, especially as far as me and you seeing differently. I think that we take the good and the bad together and we throw it together and it sticks.
Yep.
And that's I think that's what makes us do the things that we've been doing and we've been successful at. But anyway, I think that pretty much wraps up. That's episode 5, right?
Episode 5, yeah.
All right, yeah. So just make sure that you go to subscribe to our YouTube, go to Apple, Spotify, go get us, subscribe all those links. And then any questions that you guys might have, throw them in the comments. We'll be more than happy to answer them in the next episode.
Sweet.